Sundari Surya Madam is MBA in dual specialization in HR and financial management. She possesses rich and extensive experience around 18 years in the area of resource and capacity management, business operation, financial and commercial management. Started career at NIIT Limited in corporate division. For the past 14 years, she is working with IBM India, currently in cloud migration factory, playing a leader role handling supply and demand. Worked in telecom and healthcare domain, covering all geo and markets. She has at her own name various awards, certificates and achievements as a Best Performer Award, Top Talent Appreciation Award, Global Thank Award, Certified Interview Panel, and Trainer, Mentor, Guide, People Manager, Six Sigma Certificate, Trainer on Leadership Styles, Diversity in Leadership, Stress Management, Time Management, People Management, Travel to all cities in India for hiring, Travel to Nordic countries on work. So we welcome you once again, Madam, to the Kadi Vishwavidyalaya. We have another panelist, Mr. Pankaj Mol. He is CEO of the Pvt.Ltd Foundation. He is a trainer, coach, and a business development consultant. He has been so dedicated, action-oriented, professional, highly integrity, energetic leader in 12 years of experience in organizational development, sales and soft skills training, operations and business development. He is known for ability to envision and create successful outcome in tough situations. Astitwa Welfare Foundation 2016 is trained students and professionals across India and Middle East from 20 different countries including India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Kuwait, Yemen, Jordan, Egypt, Nepal, EU, Australia and the US. So we thankful to you, sir, to be with us, and we welcome you to our panel. Thank you very much. And to the rest panelists, I will also request you to introduce yourself first. Bye.
Hello everyone, I am Pradipta, and I will keep it precise. I carry more than 10 years of experience in banking, India and abroad. I represent an organization which has more than 112 years of legacy, and we are setting up a shared services center in GIFT City itself, which has a strength of more than 1600 plus resources as of now. So that's in precise. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Hello, myself Nano. I'm basically from the technology. I did my PhD from JNU. After that, I was a scientist in Germany. Coming back, I have joined Cadila Pharma. I was there for 8 years. Then again, I joined Srishti. I was there for another 10 years. Currently, I am in Super Prop Safe Limited, looking into the R&D and works related to the production.
Thank you, sir. Now I request the chairperson to take the charge of the panel. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I know it is a tough session after lunch, so it is our job to keep you awake also. Anyway, that is the intention of our panel group, because the morning session we were hurrying and there is absolutely no interaction with you. So since you all come from HR background, we want to understand from you and your views as well. So hope you all will cooperate with us. So the topic that we are going to discuss in this panel discussion, what is the role of a HR in Industrial Revolution 4.0? The Industrial Revolution 4.0, it took place after 1980s. So prior to 1980s, what the HR department was doing, what they were into. They were mainly into hiring, training and all administration job. What is their responsibilities today? They are into range of strategic and tactical responsibilities which varies from talent management, business partnership and shared operational services. In today's business world, everybody is focusing on the impact of the human resources and their motivation, engaging them, which is really a critical factor in the race of success and sustainability. Let's look at the view of an employee, how he is seeing this digitalization. Actually speaking, the attitude is ranging from excitement to rejection. Most of the employees feels they are going to lose their jobs because most of the human tasks are going to be replaced by robots or automations. So, HR has to play a very key role in this kind of a situation with their employees. They have to ensure and come up with a good communication process on all this change technology, and they have to take it to them. What is the technological transformation at an individual level, bring it to each and every employee. So it is your main responsibility to create a positive environment in your company first. So interact with the employees and make sure what is the necessity that they have to adapt to the changes. When a company is investing a huge amount to adapt Industry 4.0, without your employees' acceptance, you cannot succeed here. And HR plays a very major role here. So, in general, being an open and optimistic mindset is actually a good start. So, make your employees' mindset first to understand the necessity and importance, why they have to transform in this digitalization. Now, HR is generally placed at the level where they are directly involved in defining and fostering an organizational culture where the change is embraced rather than resisted. Agile business is key here, so HR contribution is really critical in this uncertain times of change transition. So we can look at some of the approaches and the roles what they have to do. So the days are gone, the method that they were using is no more relevant nowadays. So HR has to first adapt themselves and make themselves eligible for this transformation. And they can not in a position to use any traditional approaches, either for a communication or for their interpersonal skills, to interact with the internal, external clients. So with advanced technology, let's all find out and consider the new ways and effective ways of communication with all your stakeholders. First of all, you need to identify as a new industry, what are the skills that is needed for the digitalization now, and where is your company there? And being a HR, you should be digitally focused first. How many of you are aware to use your own mobile phones and the things at an office, the latest 3D printers or all the digital gadgets? How many of you are aware of first? So first make yourself digitally focused, and also it is very important to keep yourself technologically trends. So now, the other ways you can see is hiring, new ways of hiring. So not only the existing people, your own employees, which are necessary to go through a cross-skilling and upskilling, you have to come up with new ways of internal, external ways of trainings, make your company to invest on the trainings and make your employees to be upskilled and cross-skilled, what is actually needed for the current technology. That is one way. So another way of your role is acquiring the new skills. Get the new competencies from the market when you are hiring, and an employee or a resource who is faced actually will be a right fit for your company, who will be able to adapt and grasp the things very quickly. And human capital is an important factor. So without your resources, you cannot do it. And HR plays an interface between the organization and the employees to transform this major change. And anyways, as a HR, it is your job to retain the talents and the best people in your company. Actually, it is not that simple, it is costly, because a return on investment, when the company is realized, typically, if your new hire stays in the company for next 2 to 3 years, when a company is investing, when it adopting an Industry 4.0, huge investment the company is making, buying costly equipments, high-end machines, and expecting the employees to learn totally different skills. So, make a good interface between your employees and make them understand the necessity for change. And anyway, it is not in your hand, or we are not able to control the changes that is happening in the technology, but you can lead your people, you can lead your organization to face the challenges in the competitive world. So I'll share my dais with my other colleagues to come up with their views. I'll over to Pankaj.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. बहुत ही interactive रखूंगा session. We would not, we would not try to keep it, a telecast model, because everyone has come with certain expectations, and then they want to understand what they want to take back from this session. We also have come with certain expectations from industry. I represent a foundation, Astitva Welfare Foundation, and it's a baby, because it's hardly 2-year-old, and there is a history, there is a story how we started. So I was into corporate world for almost 12 years. I was out of India, and then we, seeing different countries, traveling to different countries, working with global giants, and everywhere, seeing people suffering, especially people going to Middle East as a laborers, or they go into different segments, but they suffer a lot. So that was one of the triggering point in my life, that I decided, rather than building one house, a bigger house for myself, driving a bigger car for myself, I would go back and do something for the country. So यहाँ पे आया इंडिया में 2015 में 16 एक टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड फूड स्टार्टअप सेटअप किया नोएडा में, which is still functioning, though I'm not part of it. But 2016 में something changed. I went to Kargil and I started cycling from Kargil to Kanyakumari, 5,000 kilometers. I went to Kutch, and then from Kutch to Odisha I cycled to 443 districts. And in 2016, for my initiatives, I took certain initiatives. The idea was to connect with youth and understand the countries and its problems. But how do I make them understand what is my initiative? So I adopted government initiatives. Swachh Bharat, Swasth Bharat. India खुश कैसे रहेगा? पैसा रहेगा तो खुश रहेगा. Healthy रहेगा तो खुश रहेगा. So I adopted. And for that, I was awarded by NDTV, I was appreciated by Narendra Modi ji. I was among top 5 people who did something for Swachh Bharat. That is again a history. But it was building me somewhere that, okay, whatever I have earned and I have seen into a corporate life, I need to go give back to the society. Because I was born in a small village in Bihar. I started with a school which does not have any benches, which does not have any classrooms. And I'm talking about, I've been to IIT, I have taken lectures at IIT, but my Bharat is missing somewhere behind. So since then, in last 2.5 years, I have reached to more than 76,000 students. And my focus currently for next 2 years is Gujarat. I'll tell you why Gujarat, because Gujarat is excellent in terms of facilities. बहुत अच्छी जगह है, सब कुछ व्यवस्था है, only few things are missing. I'll tell you. Gujarat was primarily a traders community, business करना आता है यहाँ पे, लेकिन अभी business के तरीके बदल गए. We need technology. We need digital transformations, and people do not have hunger to learn these technologies. We should know what are 30 new technologies which would shape this world in next 10 years, 15 years. So I took this initiative, India Vision 2030. I want to reach to 1 crore people. I want to create lots of women entrepreneurs. If you see the panel, there were only 2 women, panelists. There are lots of people sitting here. We are talking about, automations. The most affected are going to be women, because agriculture में automation आएगा, fishery में automation आएगा, textile में automation आएगा, anything which has to do with warehouse automation would take place. So women are at disadvantage. They are going to lose jobs. How we protect them? Any nation cannot develop by ignoring 50% of its population, and if they do not have a plan, certainly we are planning for failures. This is one of the things you need to ask yourself. Another thing, I'll tell you, I struggled for a job for almost 2.5 years. I appeared for 83 interviews. No one told me what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. रोज रट के जाता था, क्वेश्चन पढ़ के जाता था, न्यूज़पेपर से एडवर्टीजमेंट्स निकालता था, and 2.5 years I struggled, and then I got my first job worth 5,430 rupees with Tata Teleservices when they were launching in Delhi. The journey started from there. And why I'm telling this? Because मेरे जैसे बहुत सारे लोग होंगे आपके colleges में. Currently I'm traveling on cycle to Sanand area. I'm covering all the villages, and in one of the villages there is a village named Macau. I went to a very poor family and I met two girls. They said, "Sir, we study in Kadi." I cannot imagine. मैं बेटा क्या पढ़ रहा हूँ? सर मैं मास्टर्स कर रही हूँ और एक ग्रेजुएशन कर रही हूँ. This is the model which India needs to implement. We have lots of IITs, we have lots of IIMs, but trust me, we failed as in national importance institutes. IITs ने बनाए अपने लिए coaching centers बनाए. ज़्यादातर IITs they went into teaching. They build money, but Indian ethos is inclusiveness. सबका साथ सबका विकास. I'm not talking about political, but I'm talking about this is our ethos. So we do not think of creating a $1 billion, rich person, but we talk about $1 billion enterprises. और ये तब possible है when we understand कि ये industry है, ये consumer है, और आप लोग जो हैं, you are producers. So we need to have say that what kind of crop you are producing. If I am eating potatoes, I need to decide and tell this is the potatoes I need. And this event has become, this entire process has become more like an event. That I go and hire certain people and tell, no, ये नहीं चलेगा, ये आलू ठीक नहीं है, ये टमाटर ठीक नहीं है. आपके यहाँ से 4 kg मैं लेकर के नहीं लेकर जाऊंगा human capital. आप कुछ भी कह लीजिए. So we need to have interventions, and at the same time, people from academics, they need to come back to us. They understand entire processes. What are the challenges industry faces? It cannot be event based. Someone, maybe Pratik comes from Bank of Baroda, ma'am comes from one of the prestigious institutions and organizations. We need to give you a plan that, okay, I am going to hire 5,000 people in next 1 year. These are the competencies. Are you ready for it? And if you're not ready, this is another roadmap. Can you get your people ready? These are the resources I'm ready to provide. I'll give you Spock from my side, you bring another Spock from your side. We become a collaborative force. अभी disengaged हैं हम लोग. हमें कोई मिल जाता है कि आकर के हमारे कैंपस में हायर कर लेगा, उसको सर्टेन पैसे भी दे देते हैं, उसकी फोटो भी लगा देते हैं, चले जाता है, इस साल की बला टली. And they also complete their targets, most of the corporates. So we need to understand, today we are 2.9 trillion. We are targeting approx 8 to 10 trillion by 2030 to 34. We need to understand आज 7 years एक average बच्चा स्कूल में बिताता है Indian population की. We need to increase this to 10. 10 years he should be spending in a school. How is it possible? We need to understand what are the problems the world is facing. We need to understand sustainable development goals. अगर किसी को भूख लगी है तो क्या टेक्नोलॉजी से हम हर जगह खाना पहुंचा सकते हैं? सप्लाई चेन improve हो सकता है? So we need to be solution providers, but before that we need to understand what are the problems we are going to face. Job is one of them. Today, India's agriculture is approx 4.5 ton per hectare. Global standard says we should reach 7.5. How we are going to do it? So we need lots of interventions in agriculture. People who are coming from agriculture, combine it with technology and give certain solutions. There's lots of crime rising against women. Can we develop certain mechanism that, okay, women are safe in houses and on the roads? Do we build those artificial intelligence that, okay, if any woman is walking alone or she is threatened, there has to be a message sent to a police. So start thinking about what are the problems a society is facing. What are the problems a nation is facing. And if we are able to bring those problems to our colleges, among our students, I think corporates would be happy. Because एक कस्टमर को ये नहीं पता था कि उसके लिए टैक्सी वेट कर रही है नहीं कर रही है. एक टैक्सी वाले को नहीं पता था कि कस्टमर कहाँ से मिलेगा. They created a Uber model. They created Zomato and Food Pandas. So eventually we all would become integrators, but we need to understand what is the problem we are going to solve. Most of the people don't know. My only request with all the dignitaries from the colleges is make them think about the problems. Make them think how technology is going to solve these problems. Because there would be lots of technology, artificial intelligence, IoT hai, and understand one thing, किसी को computer science graduate होने की जरूरत नहीं है to understand these. You can do a 6 months course. You want to be excellent in customer service, you do a course, learn it. So it's not like someone has to be masters in business to understand business, someone has to have coding experience to understand artificial intelligence, या creativity. We all have certain aspects of creativity, intelligence. We need to explore that. We, as industry guy or as academic guy, we need to find fitments. किसको किधर fit करना है? We cannot have 10 Tendulkars in one team, and we cannot be sure that, okay, we are going to win. So there has to be combination. We need to understand हमारा कौन सा बच्चा कहाँ पे fit होगा. If you are able to do it, if industry is ready to collaborate, कि हमें इतनी जरूरत है और आप ऐसे दो. आज हम ऑर्गेनिक के लिए पैसे एक्स्ट्रा दे रहे हैं ना. We all are paying. Why can't industry come and say कि हमें ऑर्गेनिक बच्चा दे दो? हमें ऐसा चाहिए. हमें रिक्वायरमेंट है चाहे 2 साल बाद, 3 साल बाद, but we are ready to invest. Because eventually he would add up to our scale. वो हमारे numbers में add करेगा, हमारे expansion में add करेगा, हमारे nation building में add करेगा. We need to decide what kind of produce we are going to hire. This is all what I want to say, and this is fabulous platform. ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें होनी चाहिए. And let's collaborate. Let's build the next vision. This is what is I'm requesting from every participant here. 10 लोगों को यहाँ से अगर आइडेंटिफाई कर लेते हैं प्रति कि I need 10 people from Bank of Baroda and there is some college which is ready to provide, I think the platform is done. This is what we expect. So he should be sharing, everyone should be sharing those kind of things. I'll pass it on to Pratik. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Conclave. So I think more than anybody else, I'm inspired by your story. So he spoke about that he traveled the world, he traveled 5,000 kilometers on a cycle. So when you think about an industrial revolution, you pretty much start thinking about a Terminator and Transformers, jumping, flying somewhere. So had we deployed a robot to drive 5,000 kilometers, he wouldn't have established a connect with the human, which he did. So there are merits and the demerits everywhere. So I think I should be taking a step back. We talk about Industrial Revolution 4.0, but what was 3.0? So it was about computers when they started changing our lives. They started becoming a part of our lives. I still remember somewhere in 97 or 98, I was passing by a newly opened cyber cafe with my father, and my father asked, what is it? So just to show I'm more smarter, I said it's basically a computer operated cafe where you have to order on a computer screen and Hakka noodles will be delivered in a tray. So I would not be revealing the next questions and answer that would damage my reputation today. So, so that's how. Basically, Industrial Revolution 4.0 is basically convergence and confluence of the technologies which are disruptive and interconnected and which have the capability to change the lives of the individuals, organization, and socially. So what we have to do, first of all, we need to understand what we require. So the biggest example, as he said, was Ola, Uber, and Amazon. They are basically using these kind of technologies. Though we have adapted, we have become habitual to those technologies, but are we ready to basically contribute to take it to a next height, whether other than just using it? So the big jargons like artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, RPA. So these are very fancy words, but what they carry, the everything around us and in us is being changing so rapidly, whether we are able to cope up with this change or not. So we have to change ourselves, our mindset. So now a banker is always a banker, so all my examples will definitely come from the banking world. Most of you people would have a savings bank account with some or other banks. So how you did it? You would have visited a bank, filled up a long form, submitted a KYC document, or an agent would have visited you. So I would not be hesitating if it has been a PSU, your experience would have been multi-folds bad. Now, you can open a savings bank account sitting at your home within 3 minutes, logging into an internet, clicking few buttons, filling some information, uploading your KYC, Aadhaar, PAN card, and your account will be opened like an email account. Soon you will be able to open a fixed deposits or raise any service request through WhatsApp or IVR, just a call away. That's how the industry is changing. Okay. I will definitely not miss to highlight any of the loan experience you would have in the past. Very physical verification, running around these banks. Now your loan is disbursed within 3 minutes of your raising a request in the app and uploading your PAN and KYC. But how this is happening? This is happening because of the technology we have, which is influencing our decision making in the past. Now we do not need bankers. We need the technology efficient people. They should be knowing these technologies. They should be ready, and as Pankaj said, that there is an attitude which matters. I see a huge gap in terms of what are the skill set and the manpower requirements of these corporates have, and what is available. We call it as an employable percentage. I don't see any requirement of, so since I come from a bank, many of the banks have associated with the institutions like Manipal and others to train the people who have already been taught for years in the classrooms. There are cost pressures, why I need to spend more on training my resources. So I would be looking ahead with, or my expectation from the institutes are that the basis the segmentation and their interest areas, we should engage, or the responsibility lies with the HR, that we should be engaging with the institutes to develop a curriculum where we are allowed to pick the ready resources who are future ready and where the cost implications are less for the organizations like us. So this is most important. Secondly, from an HR angle, I will try to, because industrial revolution is my favorite topic, so I will try to limit my examples and stories around and what is required as of now. The generation today is much smarter. Some 100 years back, someone would have developed a blackboard and a stage where the teacher has to stand and address the mass. Now nobody requires it. The teacher has to be sitting with the students and they have to act like a mentor. They have to be friends and they have to focus more on the practical approaches rather than just stating what has to be done. Nobody likes it. So the world is moving towards self-learning platforms, either in corporates or the institutes. So like any person who is under a corporate life, he is working when he is on his laptop, his smartphone, phone. So learning should also be a 24/7. These self-learning platforms, which are AI and automation enabled, they have changed the world, and that has to be focused. Also, Fortunately, I happened to be a part of a conference which was organized by World Women Banking a week back. Our finance minister was also participating in that. And I'm very excited to impart that the kind of an influence center which our government is trying to create in and around us. So they want to be the center of influence for this Industrial Revolution 4.0. We have to take an advantage of it. We don't know what has to be done. Even in the organization, now, if I talk about, I've given some examples from the banking, the technology, how the transaction has to be done. Human performing transactions or operations will be the days of the past. Now the responsibility of the HR is to keep upskilling the resources externally, internally, because these jobs, so I've been hearing here and in outer world as well, this revolution has been taken as a threat to the employment. The 30%, 40% will, the jobs will go in by 2025 or 30. I will again go back. How many jobs have gone since the Industrial Revolution 3.0? It has been created and jumped in multifolds because the standard of the jobs have gone up. And the same is going to happen in the next decade as well. So the 4 revolutions happened in 150 years. Who knows, the next revolution 5.0 will happen in just 10 years. So this is the pace how the world is changing around us. I also want to touch base like recruitment. So HR is always involved in recruitment and they are considered as a body where the requirement is given and they have to just pick resources and deploy. I think HR should be more engaged in the engagement, the employee engagement and the retention rather than recruitment, which can be taken care by the technology-enabled interfaces. The performance of any organization will be known by the aging vintage of their resources and how employable that organization is. So, for example, the organization which I represent, we are 1600 plus now and we are thriving to become 5000 resources. We are one of the leading employer in GIFT City after TCS. So what my expectations are, that rather than picking up freshers who have no banking knowledge and then putting them into a training program with Manipal or anybody else, I would look or I would expect from an institution to develop a curriculum which is basis the segmentation and their interest areas, so that I have a ready resources to be pulled in. That will definitely impact my cost base, my top line, my bottom line, and my HR can definitely focus on other activities, which are again deploying your self-learning platforms. So I don't want to employ a trainer in my organization who again stand on a blackboard in a stage and start doing a classroom trainings. I want to deploy a self-learning platforms where I can pick a person who has a basic banking knowledge and know what these jargons are, and then pick the information themselves. And within a month or 2 months time, they can be a person who can be deployed on the job. So that's what my expectation is. So thank you very much. I will, as usual, I just want to keep it very precise. But if you have any questions, I am open to.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is really a very good topic, not only from technology point of view, but from the HR as well as the social perspective. As I have received a message which will be more interactive. Of course, we know that AI is going to change the future. If we divide our areas of interest into vertical, coming to the more precise point, what kinds of education or the degree we are getting into, what from that degree, what kind of job we are taking and which kind of industry. And in the perspective of current future, 3 years, 10 years, what will be the job which will be no more, and in another 7 years, what will be a new job? I'm dividing the whole area into 4 or 5 verticals, say for example, biotech, life sciences, or the biologicals, engineering,